Today we're talking about what happens at the end of your lease. What happens when you've made your final payment and it's time to do something else? What are you going to do? You have three options. You should know what they are. I'm going to describe them in this video, and I hope this video will give you the information you need so that when your lease is coming due, you'll know how to act on it. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Happy 4th of July weekend. Today in this video, we're discussing what you can do at the end of your lease. There are three options that you can take advantage of once you've made your final payment. And we're going to discuss them a little bit so that you have a clear understanding of what you can do when your lease is coming to an end. The first option you're going to have, guys, is you can turn the vehicle in. And this is a beautiful option for people. People who sign long-term finance contracts and want to do something in the middle of that finance contract don't have these types of options. When you lease a vehicle for 3 years, and I don't recommend going over 3 years, you have options at the end. And the first one is you can turn the vehicle back in. There's no obligation to keep it. You will have to pay a turn-in fee. That turn-in fee usually costs $350, $400, somewhere in that range. It is in your lease contract. You can find it on page 1 or 2. And it'll tell you exactly what you have to pay in order to give the vehicle back and walk away. Now, even though you may be wondering, why would somebody do that? Well, people's lives change. Sometimes you pick up a job that gives you a vehicle to drive, and so you just don't need another vehicle right now. Sometimes maybe you get married and you only need one car in the family. You already had a couple of cars. So just because it may not pertain to you doesn't mean it doesn't help somebody if they have the option to just turn it in at the end and walk away from the car altogether. Now, we're talking about taking advantage of option 1, which is turn the vehicle in. The first thing you want to realize and what you want to do is work on getting your inspection done. Most leasing companies provide you with a free, no-cost inspection before your lease is over. And you want to try to call them about 2 months before your lease is over. So they'll send a guy to your house to inspect the vehicle, and then they'll tell you exactly what they expect you to pay at the end of the lease. Like if the tires are too low, or if there's a bunch of scratches on the vehicle. That'll give you some time to get those things fixed instead of turning it in and then just letting them charge you whatever they want to charge you once they get the car back. So what I would suggest is you get that inspection done a couple of months out before the lease is over, and that way you don't have to worry about it as you turn the car in. Most of the time, if you're taking care of the car, you won't have to do anything. If you've rotated your tires, done your oil changes, the car doesn't have a ton of scratches in it, you won't have to do anything. So I'm not trying to say this to scare you. It's just you should get this done because it gives you something in writing that you can have for your records, and it lets you know what you're going to have to pay to get that car fixed and ready to be turned back in. Option number 2 is going to be purchase the vehicle. So people lease cars for 3 years and then they want to turn around and purchase the car. That's not a bad deal if that's what you want to do. It's not something I really recommend unless you have specific uses for it, and I'll name some of those. Like, let's say that you have a child that's going to be driving soon, and you leased a Jetta 3 years ago, and now the buyout on that Jetta is like $9,500. Well, it's hard to go find a vehicle for $9,000 anywhere in the country, but you're sitting on one that probably still has warranty left that you can provide for your child, and so that'd be a good option to buy that vehicle and turn it over to your child. Now, if you're going to purchase the vehicle, you're going to have to pay a purchase fee, which is the same thing. It's like $350 to $400. These banks want that $350 to $400 every time you turn the car in or you purchase it. So just keep that in mind. Once again, it's written in the contract. It's right on page 1 or 2, and it's not hidden. It's just something that most people forget about. But if you're going to buy that vehicle, make sure that you go through the inspection process again. Have them inspect the car, look it over so you can know what you're getting into, and then you can basically get ready to purchase it at the end of the lease. You don't have to have financing by the dealer or anybody else. You can go get your own financing to purchase this car at your credit union, bank, or whoever you decide to get the money from. You can also pay cash. They're going to have you send that money in, signing some documents and an odometer disclosure, and then they'll send you the title once the check clears. So that was option 2. You can purchase the vehicle. First choice, you can turn it back in. Second choice, you can purchase the vehicle. The last option you have is to renew and go into a different lease. And there are some benefits in doing that in some cases. You just have to be aware of what every manufacturer is offering at the time. They have these things called lease loyalty programs. So if you're leasing a Volkswagen and you stay with another Volkswagen, they waive the turn-in fee. Sometimes they make your first payment. Sometimes there's some rebates available because they want you to stay with them. So taking advantage of the lease loyalty program is something you could look into at the end of the lease. I would go through the same steps. I would still get the vehicle inspected because it's free and they're going to give that to you in writing so you have that for your records. And then I would be prepared to shop around, look at some different makes and manufacturers and see what they're offering. And if you like the product you're actually in and you want to continue down that line but get a new one, definitely look at what loyalty programs they have available for you right then. And when you do that, you'll just basically be turning that old car into the dealer and then getting a new one. So you won't have to turn it in or purchase it or any of that stuff. The dealer will take care of that for you and move that car, and then you will just be signing documents on a new one and moving on with your brand new lease. I also want to add in this video that the market is quite increased right now. So if you're in a lease right now or thinking about staying in your car or purchasing it, it's definitely a good time to investigate it because most of the time these vehicles depreciate past the residual value. Right now what we're seeing is they're worth at least the residual value, in some cases a lot more. So it's definitely worth looking into to look at your entire package to see what options are available to you and your family. So it's not going to stay this way forever, but right now is a really good time if you're in a lease vehicle and you want to get into something else. So just to recap, you can turn your vehicle in at the end of the lease, pay the turn-in fee. You can purchase the vehicle. It's yours. You'll have to pay taxes on it at that point in time and pay the purchase fee. Or you can look at a lease loyalty program and roll from one car right into the next. You have three major options that you can take advantage of at the end of your lease. I hope this video cleared up a little bit of how the end of lease options work. If you have questions, please post them in the comments. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. We'll talk to you next week.